Hi everyone, I'm Noah and this is The Perceptions of Injustice. In my last video, I spoke about the arrest of Donna Adelson, naming her in my video the head of the snake by saying that the state attorney's office in Florida, Miami have finally cut off the head of the snake, meaning Donna Adelson. Some of you agreed with that, but some of you did not agree with that and said that no, Donna is not the head of the snake, Wendy is the head of the snake. And I always feel that in this particular case, almost all questions are answered already. And we all in this community agree on the roles of each one in the family. We're just confused about one role, which is Wendy Adelson's role. Some of you may think that she is totally involved in every detail in this crime. Some of you may think she's not involved, and some of you may think she is partially involved, or at least she knew about it. Now, if you think that by me saying that Donna Adelson is the head of the snake, I am in any way, shape, or form minimizing the involvement, guilt, evilness of Wendy Adelson, you would be wrong, because there's a reason why I say that Donna Adelson is the head of the snake. She was the leader of the logistics of this crime. But while a crime is about logistics, also it's about thoughts, it's about ideas. Who invented the idea? Who planted the seeds for this idea? Someone had to whisper in the ear of the serpent, which is Donna. And it's the biggest evil, the demon, it's Satan, the great manipulator, Wendy, the devil herself. So when I say that Donna Adelson is the head of the snake, I'm assuming that Wendy is the devil that whispered to Donna in her ear. Now, before we proceed, it's crucial to remember that metaphors have their limits. We cannot prove by metaphors or by just talking that someone's role is completely guilty or completely innocent. This is a tangled web, and what we're trying to do is untangle it. And just for philosophical reasons and just for delving deeper into and the behinds of this story, let's talk a little bit about the biblical story of Eve and the serpent. Eve had her part in taking a bite of that apple. There's no denying in that. Now let's superimpose this narrative onto our case. In this comparison, in my opinion, Wendy would take on the role of the devil, the cunning serpent that whispered to Eve in her ear so she can eat the apple. The manipulative voice in Eve's ears, whatever you want to call it. We can call it the serpent, we can call it the devil, Satan, the greater manipulator, the one that's orchestrating the events behind the scenes. And please don't get me wrong, this is not about downplaying Donna's actions. This comparison is just to recognizing the intelligence, strategic intelligence of Wendy in shaping the course of events. And Donna, which is Eve in this comparison, she fell into this manipulative web driven by her narcissism and her own desires. So it had to be two elements that made Donna do that. She had her own narcissism, she had her own evilness, her own desires and immorality, let's say, amorality or immorality that she has. On the other hand, she has someone like Wendy Adelson that's, in my opinion, if Donna Adelson, let's say, was iPhone 16, Wendy Adelson would be iPhone 19 Plus Max. She is the improved version of Donna Adelson. She learned from the best, on the hands of the best. Donna Adelson, the biggest narcissist you would know ever in Miami, I would say. And narcissist actually is a very small word, because usually a person that does a crime like that is usually much more than a narcissist. In my opinion, she's a dark triad. I have another video for that if you would like to watch it. go to my channel and watch this video about detailing the personality traits of Donna Adelson that led me to think that she is a dark triad. Now let's go back a little bit to Wendi Adelson. Think of it this way. Wendy is like the devil. She understands exactly how to use her influence subtly. Wendy is more dangerous, more evil than the snake herself, Donna. Donna could not stop herself from talking about everything on the phone and the emails, phone calls, While Wendy, she was smarter than Donna to talk about this publicly. And she said it herself in one of the trials. I think it was Catherine McBano's second trial, when a lawyer asked her on the cross-examination to explain to the jury about WhatsApp and what does it mean, encrypted messages on WhatsApp. And she said that it means, yes, it's safer, probably the messages are safer, but she knows that no communication on phones is safe not to get or not to get in the future. Nothing is private. She knows that. But Wendy knows what kind of a mother she has, knows what kind of a brother she has. She said the right words at the right times, in the right places. So she would plant the seeds without getting her hands dirty. For example, in this particular time, this person, Donna Adelson, which is my mom, if I say certain stuff for her, this will trigger certain stuff for her and she would react like this. And if I say something to Charlie, he would react like this. Mix them together. Throw some petroleum, throw some fire over there and here and there. It's gonna mix up. It's gonna happen by nature. I don't have to do it myself. I honestly needed just one piece of evidence, just for me, to consider everything that I'm saying is true. And this piece of evidence is Jeffrey Lacasse's statement that says that Wendy confided in him that Charlie looked into hiring a hitman and it would cost him between, 15 or 50 there. He's still not exact on the number, but I do believe him. Jeffrey Lacasse said this in the interview with the police the first time he saw them. So he said that without hearing Wendy, what she would say, or what did she say in her future interviews. And then we knew from Wendy that Charlie joked about that, which reinforced what Jeffrey Lacasse has already said. While in a court of law, this might not be considered as evidence or hard evidence what Jeffrey Lacasse has said, it is enough for me to say that she more than knew about it. Now, another trait in Wendi Adelson that proves to me that she is the devil herself is talking defamation about Dan Markel. In her first interview with the police, the one that we have, the one that we watched for 5 hours or so, after she knew that the father of her sons has been shot twice in the head and is dying, she chose to say about him that he was abusive to her. And she repeated that statement not once, not twice, I think much more than that. We heard her in the latest trial saying that actually, that he was abusive to her. And I just have one thing to say about that. How dare she, the audacity that she has to say about this man that he was abusive to her. And I'm not saying in here that Dan Markel was the angel that's coming from the skies. He may be the angel. I did not know him. But from what I know until now, and I know a lot, I consider myself, she was the abusive one. If anyone was abusive in the relationship, then she would be labeled an abusive one and not him. She was abusive to the point where she wouldn't allow him or his friends to talk about or to discuss him being in Harvard in front of her family and friends. She was manipulative to this point. She was controlling the tone of the room without even her getting involved, she would hire Dan Markel to do that for her. Dan Markel would come to his parents and ask them, please do not mention me going to Harvard. It hurts Wendy's feelings. She controlled the tone of the room wherever she was without even asking for it. So do you think that she would come to Dan Markel and tell him, hey Dan, go tell your parents not to mention Harvard in front of my friends and family? Of course she wouldn't do that. She would say the right words at the right time to the right person, which is Dan Markel, in private between her and him. She would say the right words. Maybe, I don't know, she understands what kind of a person is Dan Markel and what he would hear, so she would get this result, and she would say it, and she would get this result in the end. She would get what she wants in the end. So that's exactly what she does. We know that she does that. We knew that she does that. And also, let's talk a little bit about her being a lawyer. Like, in the bigger scheme of things, she is a lawyer. She may not have practiced family law, but at least she is in the industry of conflict, of being a lawyer. So she knows about divorces and custody battles and parents being abusive to one other. She knows the depth of this word abusive, what to it. It's not just a word that you throw around if you have a little bit of problems with your current divorcee or husband or partner. I mean, she said that after he was shot in the head. I would understand if he would beat her every day, for example, if he was really abusive. If we saw the abuse on her, for example, that she would say that after him being killed in this brutal way, the father of her sons. And I'm saying these words, these all play factor in what she has to say and what she cannot say. You cannot say about the father of your sons something like that. Just throw it out in the blue. He was abusive. It's not a word that you use lightly to someone that precious, to your sons, after he was brutally murdered this way. And simply what happened, why is she calling him abusive? She was asking for much more than she would get, legally and ethically, from the custody battle. And she was expecting to get what she wants, as always in life. And when Dan set his foot down, just because he is a father as much as she is a mother, and he simply has the right in all senses to be physically in his kid's life as much as she is in her kid's life. That's just logic. But she couldn't bear the logic because it did not serve her desires. So that's why she decided to call that abuse. And she chose to say that word about him even after he was shot twice. Who was the abuser in the relationship? Let's talk about when she left the house with her kids and the furniture and left him the papers in the house, with him not being there, with him not having control over the situation, with him being vulnerable, being away physically. She was the abusive one in this case. She took advantage of him not being there so she can leave. For God's sake, she had him in the phone book as gibbers. She was continuously disrespecting him. And that's just, as we said, a few examples of her manipulation tactics, of her strategies, of her narcissism, of her abuse. Now, let's rewind a little bit just to understand the roots of the personality traits of Wendi Adelson. Her relationship with Donna Adelson, her mom. Growing up with Donna, I'm sure Wendy had no other choice but to please her mother. And Donna's controlling behavior and narcissism, we can see it evidently in the emails. I also have videos about these emails that prove how crazy narcissist she is and controlling she is. Everyone that lives with someone like Donna Adelson, especially if it was her child, has no other choice but to live with her, has to adapt a coping mechanism so they can survive. So we know about Charlie, for example, his coping mechanism. We talked about it extensively in other videos, that his coping mechanism was to be his mom's hero and gangster of all time. That's it. That was his coping mechanism, to please her and to get what he wants in life, to survive in life. Robert, we don't know much details, but from what we know, that he was the rebellious one that got no contact with his parents anymore, and it was from their side at one point, but then he was the one that got no contact with them. It was simply because he chose not to live the life that they want him to live. He chose the freedom, he chose the truth. Wendy, on the other hand, the good girl, the achiever, the golden child, she was the one that adapted a coping mechanism of being the achiever, of being all of these things, so she would get the recognition that she craves as a child, as a normal child. Donna started the abuse by putting limits to her emotional connection with Wendy, by loving her only in certain conditions and not offering unconditional love. In order to get the emotional connection that any child craves and needs for natural development, she must do those specific things in life. She very early on adapted this coping mechanism and survivor skills. In return, Donna knew that. She observed that, recognized this, exploited this, and abused Wendy even more by labeling her subconsciously as the golden child, because Donna needed this admiration from someone, which is Wendy. And so, if you see it, it's all connected. They reinforce each other. The behavior of Donna reinforces the behavior of Wendy and vice versa. And it's this early conditioning that set the stage for Wendy's evolution into a more manipulative force. Now, Ruth Markel, Dan's mom, she says that Wendy met Dan Markel on a Jewish dating site, that she and her mom, Wendy, and her mom, Donna, were looking for someone on this dating site, and she and her mom chose Dan for Wendy. So saying that is for you to know how much involved Donna is in her daughter's choices in life and in her life in general. Also, we can see the enmeshment and the obedience that Wendy shows her mom in her life in several situations. One of the most horrific ones for me is after the crime and after everything that happened and that everything that surfaced, she still trusted her mom with her boys, not as a grandma, more like a co-parent. She says that. Wendy says that publicly. In a podcast that she did, she said that her mom is more like a co-parent and that she was okay with that. On the other hand, the hypocrisy. She has forbidden her boys to see their grandmother and grandfather, Dan's parents, just because the mom suggested that she would be arrested. And she didn't say it in a malignant way. She said it privately with the prosecution in a letter, in an email, saying that in the event that this happens, could you make sure that these kids go to a specific foster care? So it wasn't accusatory, it wasn't malignant, it was just a question that she asked to the prosecution. She took that as a sign of danger, and she just has forbidden the contact between the grandparents and her sons. Yet it's okay for Charlie to have a good relationship with the boys. It's okay for grandma to be a co-parent with her for the boys. Even when we say that Wendy is the result of Donna's abuse, we have to say something, that at one point Wendy knew wrong from right in this life. At one point, you recognize the right from wrong. You wake up. And Wendy chose the wrong. She chose the wrong path. she chose to go to this path. And in my opinion, and she chose the wrong path, is the time when the golden child has become herself the ultimate narcissist, which is, as we see it, Wendy now. She took all the skills that she knows of from her mom, learned them and memorized them, and not only copied them, but like upgraded them to better narcissistic skills and behavior. And for more information about Wendy's personality traits or behavior in this whole saga, I will put a link in my description box of a video that I made about Wendy Adelson and the top suspicious indicators that tells me that Wendy has hands in this whole crime. So now, while Wendy may never be indicted, she may never be charged, we don't know that. It may never happen, and it may happen. In my opinion, for Wendy, the real jurors are not 12 chosen jurors in a court of law. It's not us, the people that talk in the Justice for Dan Markel community. It's not the people on the internet. The real jurors for Wendy Adelson, in my opinion, are her own kids. One day they're gonna be adults. They're gonna see all of that, all of the documents, all of the interviews, everything. And they have a brain, they have a mind, a very brilliant one, I would say. They come from very smart parents, and they will know the truth. So my question to her is, how is she going to justify for these two jurors, her sons, about her not saying anything to Charlie when he joked about hiring a hitman? Because that's the minimum they're gonna ask her. Set aside everything we have spoken about, everything. All the evidence, all the suspicious indicators, all the traits, everything that may be coincidental. And let's just focus on this one thing. Mom, why didn't you stop Charlie, your brother, from making this joke over and over and over again? Why didn't you say anything? I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give it a like, comment if you want to. I would love to see your opinions, and even if you have something that you disagree on, please let me know. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.